We are live on the DATAcated show. My name is Kate Strachnyi, the founder of DATAcated and host of the DATAcated show. I am thrilled to kickstart the DATAcated show again for 2024. We have a great lineup of guests scheduled. I think we have 20 guests scheduled already for the year. And we are kicking the show off with a really interesting topic. We're going to talk about business intelligence in the age of AI. So, for those who don't know, AI stands for artificial intelligence. And if you haven't heard of AI in the past couple of months, then what have you been doing, right? Because I feel like AI is baked into everything these days. Pretty sure my microphone here has AI built into it somehow to adjust for echo or whatever. Now, our guest today is Ryan Daly, VP of Product Strategy at Good Data, and he is the co-host, or as he says, half of the Super Data Brothers show. I'll bring him on in just a minute, but wanted to let you know, the live audience, that we are taking questions live. So if you've got questions, if you've got comments, anything you want to talk about in terms of business intelligence and how AI is impacting business intelligence, it's BI in the age of AI. So feel free to jump in here with questions. We do try to take as many as we can to make this show as interactive as possible. So as you're joining us, let us know where you're tuning in from. I love hearing about how global of an audience we have here on LinkedIn. You can join us on LinkedIn. You can join us on YouTube, on Twitter, and Ryan is also streaming to his LinkedIn and YouTube audience. So anyone and everyone, feel free to come in here and engage. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring Ryan up on our stage here. Hello, Ryan. Welcome to the DATAcated show.
Kate, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And where are you actually based?
I'm located in Detroit, so it's like negative a million degrees right now, and we've got a foot of snow, and it's
Just a
real.
foot, not a million feet of
Yeah,
snow?
just a million. Yeah, just 1 foot. Yeah, it's real cold and unpleasant this time of year, but I'm used to it.
I'm actually in a similar boat. Not that much snow and not that cold per se, but I'm in New Jersey and we definitely have snow to the point where my kids are home because of a snow day. But then again, my town, like we get 2 inches of snow and they're like, "Ooh, that's it. Cancel school."
Shut everything down.
I don't mind. I love it because I work from home. But for people who have to go in for work, they're probably not big fans of the very, very cautious school district.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, we have school. My kids are also home and they canceled school today because it was too cold for school.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess they're maybe worried about the ice on the road. That was our excuse. Like, there's
Yeah.
ice outside. I'm glad I didn't have to come out. So, just checking in on the comments. We've got folks from San Jose, California. No snow at all. You should come over here. Egypt, I'm assuming, also no snow. Let's see. And I see Nicholas here, Washington State. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here to talk about business intelligence, right? But before we get into that, Ryan, I think it's good to start with, who are you really? And what do you do all day?
Who am I really? Yeah. Lately, I'm a very enthused Detroit Lions fan who spends most of his time thinking about that. But no, so I'm the VP of Product Strategy at Good Data, which is a business intelligence and analytics platform. And I've been in the analytics space now for 13 years. I've done a bunch of different things in that space. I've been on BI and data warehouse teams. I've been a consultant. I've worked for large vendors, and now, like I said, I'm at Good Data, which kind of makes kind of a data engineering focused analytics platform. And so, I spend most of my time. I'm in charge of the product there, so I spend a lot of my time, talking to customers, existing customers, and figuring out, what should the product roadmap look like, where's the BI and analytics market headed, and how do we, as a platform, fit into that. And then I have a side gig with my brother Eric. We have a little show called the Super Data Brothers Show, which airs every Thursday at noon, and is kind of like a data focused, interview and news show.
Awesome. Okay, I've got to ask about the name of the show, Super Data Brothers. Who came up with that? Was it you or Eric?
I can't remember. It was probably Eric, because he's the funnier one. So I'll give him credit for that. But it really, Yeah, I mean, we're both big nerds, obviously. You can see like my whatever. Here we go, my Lego Transformers in the background and everything. And part of that is we're big Mario fans. And so when it came time to make a show, and we're actual brothers, we get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
Are you guys
I
really
assumed you
brothers?
were brothers.
Yeah,
So.
we're real brothers. And so it just kind of, I think he came up with it and it just fit. It was like, oh, that's perfect. So
Wait, does
yeah.
he also work for Good Data or no?
He is the head of the enterprise BI team at Michigan State University.
Oh, you couldn't work together? Come on.
We did at one point. If you go back 4 or 5 years, we were both at the same consulting firm, but since then we've kind of gone different directions.
Oh, okay, so you did work together. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into it, we've got someone asking us to repeat the agenda of the stream. So we are here to talk about business intelligence in the age of AI, or artificial intelligence. So Ryan, I think that brings us to a good starting point here. In your own words, what actually is encompassed in business intelligence? Is it just creating pretty charts and graphs, or is there more?
Man, this is like this. Yeah, it's funny. It's a heavy hitting question in a way because I think the definition of what is business intelligence is changing and needs to change in a lot of ways, driven by what's going on in AI. And so, I would define business intelligence as kind of the art and science of producing high quality metrics that can be used by human beings to make decisions fundamentally. Like if you think about it historically, especially, that was really what business intelligence was focused on for a long time. The pretty charts became the focus of business intelligence, I think, over the 2010s, largely because of Tableau. Like Tableau just exploded the overall prettiness of charts in a way that, someone who was in the field before Tableau really hit it big. What you could build in Tableau looked just so much better than what you could build in like a Cognos or a Business Objects beforehand, that I think that kind of became what business intelligence was known as, was like the charts. Yeah. And they will still be an important piece of it. But I think the more fundamental piece of BI is like the reproducibility and quality of the underlying metrics are what the important piece is to me.
Absolutely. And I mean, I started my career with Tableau and I fell in love with actually the prettiness and the customization and flexibility of making the chart look exactly like I wanted. And yes, maybe 10 years ago, that took way more steps than it does now because everything is just easier. And it seems like artificial intelligence is getting us to a point where it's even easier, right? Like way, way easier than I ever thought possible or realistic in my lifetime. And now we're just writing a couple of words, uploading a file, and generative AI or like ChatGPT, for example, can provide you with a whole dashboard or charts. It might not be reproducible or as reliable as we'd like it to be so far, but I'd love to get your thoughts on, how is AI impacting the BI space?
That's one of the biggest pieces of it, is just the amount of human brain power that has had to go into producing the best outputs. Like you said, the ability to make the chart look exactly how you want, and the amount of effort that it has historically taken to do that. I think we've already seen AI having a big impact on that, and it's just going to continue to, right? So my expectation, as I work at a BI vendor, and I know what we're working on that we can't disclose yet, but it's really impressive. And so the question then becomes, in the business intelligence space, I think, if we've spent the last 5 or 10 years really focused in BI on how do I produce the perfect chart to tell X, Y, or Z data story. If we're entering a world where the AI can do that for us and maybe give us 90% as good of a chart with 1% of the effort, the question as BI practitioners becomes, how do we need to change? What does our focus become? And what I would argue, Kate, is it becomes more about curation, right? Making sure that the best insights are easy to find, and guidance, but for both business users and for AI, and to make sure that it's actually built on a foundation of strong metrics, that people know where to find the data, and that they trust the results they're getting from an AI system, which I think is going to be a huge challenge.
Yeah, I think although AI makes it easier, I think we still go back to the original problem of where is your data? Is it structured properly? How is the data quality looking? Because AI will just make the bad data, like, I don't know, you'll see it prettier, but you'll still see the bad data is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like
Yeah.
either way, if the data's bad, no amount of AI can help you make it good for now.
Right.
Don't
Right.
quote
I
me on
mean,
that next month when everything changes, right?
yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? Is it's people will ask me sometimes like, "Well, where's AI going to be in 5 years?" And I'm like, "I don't know, and you shouldn't trust anyone who says they know." Because I do feel there is some degree of like unknown, like we don't know, you never know what's going to happen in the future, but especially when the technology is so new and so potentially
I mean,
transformative, it's hard to
unless
predict.
if you've got one of these, you might know. I've got
Right.
like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
little crystal ball, so you want to borrow it any day, Ryan?
Yeah. Yeah,
It only
ask
goes
it.
about 3 years out. We can't go up to
No
5.
5-year
I know.
projections on the, that'll be
That's
the
the next
next,
version.
next version, yeah, when that's what they're working on in the labs. Um,
Yes. So, Ryan, quick question for you. If you were given a data project to, I don't know, create a chart, would you leverage AI right now, or would you simply go to your go-to tools that you've been using?
yeah, I mean, right now, um, I think we're in a state where, uh, in most cases, I would probably still go to my go-to tools, but what I would do beforehand
Hmm.
is I would actually probably rely on the AI for some degree of like ideation, right? Okay, here's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
What can you suggest? Yeah, like, here's my audience. It's amazing what you can do with these systems, but here's my audience I'm trying to communicate with. Here's what I'm trying to communicate. What would you suggest? But I do think we are very rapidly approaching the point where most BI tools will have almost like a very competent data analyst or visualization builder, like
Like an
AI.
assistant, co-pilot type of
Like if you
thing,
look at
right?
what Microsoft's doing, and other BI tools, it's uh, that is such an obvious thing to do. I will tell you, as someone who works at like an analytics vendor, that like we're all going to do it, and then
Yeah.
the question becomes, okay, what next, right? But yes, like that, I would expect within a year, almost every BI or analytics tool will have some sort of copilot that will build visualizations for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Pankaj had a question here. So leveraging AI, but how, right? So it won't automatically become available. That's where BI and BI teams need to implement. So I wanted to get your
Exactly.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it becomes about. Like when I said earlier, we're moving into a world where you part of your job will be creation, but another part will be curation. And that's a huge part of it. These AI systems are only as good as their inputs. It's always been true in IT and technology, right? Garbage in, garbage out. We've said it forever.
Or goodness in, goodness out.
Yes, that's a much better way to say it, right? We put the
We
positive
don't have
forward.
garbage. We have
Uh-uh.
it's good data, right? So
Yeah.
you should be using this, man.
Uh-huh. Goodness in, goodness out. So when the AI will amplify that effect. So you need to make sure that you're feeding in only goodness,
Yeah.
because it really is gonna do that. And there's some interesting. I mean, when you talk about BI, like there's a lot of stuff happening in the BI, kind of a move away from visualization creation as the primary thing that BI people do, and more towards metrics definitions. And you think about metrics layers. DBT has made a lot of announcements in that area. There's lots of good data we have a metrics layer. That's going to be a big part of it too, is like the creation of the fundamental universe of like facts and attributes
Hmm.
that the AI system uses in order to answer questions.
All right. And so I wanted to ask, is it easy right now, you think, to actually implement AI into your BI workflows?
Is it easy? I don't know that. I mean, it's if you do what I suggested earlier, which is kind of like helping with ideation and like concept exploration, that's
Mhm.
anybody can do that today by just opening GPT-4 and talking to it, right?
Right.
When it comes to visualization building and stuff like that, I saw that we had Nicholas Kelly watching. He's done, I think, some interesting things in this area that I've seen on LinkedIn about like using AI to like help explore. One interesting thing that you can do, for example, is describe to it, hey, I'm trying to build a dashboard that accomplishes these purposes. Can you give me three examples? And it will, I mean, if you're using an image generation AI, it will literally show like, okay, here's 3 possible dashboards you could build. Even if your AI system is not then able to actually build the dashboard, right? You
Yes.
have got 3 great potential starting points for your design.
Oh, yes. I remember. So when I started my data career, it was like 2014-ish, about 10 years ago. And I was learning Tableau and I creating dashboards. So my job consisted of, getting the data, sometimes cleaning, formatting, joining with other data, putting it into Tableau, creating visualizations, thinking about what good looks like. And I would actually go to Google Images and, okay,
Yeah.
dashboard for executive reporting on, revenue across 5 streams, just to get an idea of what that would look like. And obviously what I got were, 8 images of not great dashboards, but I was able to leverage those to get some sort of ideas, because when you're just starting out, it's like a blank slate, blank page looking at you. We didn't really have much of a starter toolkit. It was just like, what do you want to visualize? Drag and drop.
Right.
And it helped so much. But now we've come so far. But it's also making me sort of question, is there going to be a need for those types of skills? Is there going to be as much of a need for data analysts or data visualization specialists when we have this power of AI that can not only show us what to do, but it's so creative that sometimes it comes up with things that I'm like, wow, I love this, like more than anything I could have come up with on my own.
Yeah. I do think, I mean, if I'm being honest, I do think the need for data visualization skills will, I mean, I don't want to say it'll go down, but I think as the primary or even sometimes only thing that your job might be focused on, I would expect that to change, right? So I think, if you're in a situation where you are building visualizations and that is the only thing you have responsibility for, say, is visualization and dashboard creation, I think a lot of that is going to honestly be automated in the next few years. Or if not automated, a lot of the manual steps themselves will be automated so that, the visualization expert is in more of a position of kind of guiding the AI systems,
Yeah.
which will mean one of two things. Either we will have way more visualizations available to us, or we will hit some point where, we have all the visualizations we need. We actually need fewer people to focus just on this thing, right? If one person is 10 times as productive, either demand needs to go up by 10x or we will have fewer specialists focusing on it.
Yeah, and I think demand has been there for a while, and I don't think we've been meeting the demand. So hopefully this
Right.
will close that gap and also close the gap between business literacy and data literacy, because generative AI, I mean, it does have the capability to explain charts to you as well. I have tested it maybe a week or two ago, so I'm sure it's even better now, where I uploaded a random chart I created and I said, hey, what's going on here? And it told me, well, sales for West region are going up. And I said, why? And then it's like, well, I don't know why, because I don't have the underlying data, but
Right.
I'm sure
Right.
if it had the underlying data, it would actually try to come to some conclusion. And I have uploaded files of Excel files where I'm like, hey, what questions should I ask about this data?
Yeah.
It gives me like 20 questions here. This is a good question. And then I'm like, okay, answer question number 5. And it's like, hey, sure, here's a chart with an explanation. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
We have
So
that, we have that. It's not in production in Good Data yet, but we have what we call the Good Data Labs. So anybody who's interested can go to the Good Data website and request access to the labs. I am the approver for who gets access to Good Data Labs. So
ooh.
say that you saw it on the DATAcated show, and I'll make sure to click the yes button. But we have that because we have a metrics layer. You're able to say to it like, hey, what metrics are available to me? And it will
Yeah.
list them. And then you say, okay, here's the type of question I'm trying to answer. What would you suggest? And it will tell you. Or you can say, you can just provide it with nothing. Just say like,
Yeah.
well, what's the most interesting combination of these metrics?
Yeah.
And it will say, okay, here's 5. And you say, okay, visualize number 3 and boop, chart.
I know. And it's not always great. And one thing I don't like right now is, well, at least for the ChatGPT, I'm assuming good data will be reproducible, where every time you ask that same question or similar question, you get a at least similar visual.
Yeah.
Because right
Yeah.
now in ChatGPT, you don't. And I actually wanted to answer this question of which AI tool can provide this visual ideation. I mean, I was talking about ChatGPT 4.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that's what you were referring
Yeah,
to as
like
well.
Dolly via ChatGPT, right? So if you have
Yes,
ChatGPT 4, you have access to um, Dolly, not me, Dolly, but
the other
the
Dolly.
you can have access to me, but that has a fee. No,
Not
yeah,
20 hours a month like I'm paying, no.
no, it's a little more than that. Um, and you can use that. Or I know people, who've used Mid-Journey, or there's tons of these things out there that you can try. But yeah, I mean, you can literally upload it, and yeah, it'll make dashboards for you. But to your point, Kate, the
Yeah,
reproducibility is very low. You could feed it the same things 100 times, and it will suggest 100, slightly
for
different
now.
dashboards, right?
Yes,
For
I think
now, right?
I think it's going to keep changing.
Yeah.
We've got a good question comment here from Nicholas Kelly. So he actually thought he'd be out of a job, but we're all evolving in our roles, and guide things more, and we'll do more with less. So on that note, I wanted to ask for the business intelligence experts or students who want to be a business intelligence expert in the future, what sort of skill sets should they be growing now to sort of stay ahead of the curve where AI is essentially taking lots of those manual processes away?
Yeah, I think the number one thing you can do when it comes to business intelligence is focus on the first word of that, which is business, right? If
Mhm.
your job is going to be more and more about curation and guiding expert systems to the right answer, uh, you need to have the my son. You see, my son is joining us here. You need to have the ability to, you need to have the understanding of the business to help ask the right questions. And also, I think, like, it's becoming increasingly apparent that the things that the machines are not going to be as good at now, which is like the human connectivity part, will become
Yeah.
a bigger part of it in my mind. So I think the ability to understand your stakeholders and what will make them successful, right? I
Mhm.
often tell people in business intelligence, your success is downstream of the success of the business people that you're supporting, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding their needs, what will make them successful, and then using your technical abilities and your ability to make stuff, but like we said, increasingly your ability to guide the AI systems to help them have success with data, like that's the most important part.
And would you say, like, building that skill set, is it simply just sitting down with business stakeholders on a regular basis and showing them what's possible and how to do things? And if you do that, are you essentially automating yourself even more out of a job where the business users are now like, well, what do I need Ryan for? I could just do this
Yeah.
myself.
It's tempting. So it's very tempting to say yes, but what I will tell you, so this is just kind of two ways I'll answer that question. The first, I'll address the second part first, which is, are you automating yourself out of a job? And what's interesting is that I was in BI. You talked about, you started kind of in the Tableau. We'll call it the Tableau era, right? Um, I was in BI before that, and that was actually something that BI people thought when we saw Tableau was like, oh, there will be no jobs for BI people because everyone will just do self-service. They'll, the data analysts and the business people will be able to use Tableau to do self-service, and so there will be no BI people anymore. And I guess my point there is, it's very tempting to say that whatever new technology is going to eliminate job X or Y. And I think more likely what's going to happen is it's going to transform job X or Y into something different in ways that we can't anticipate. Now, when it comes to, say, you're a BI person or a data analyst, and and a lot of your job today is focused on your technical ability to, like, build the charts,
Hmm.
define the metrics, write the SQL, whatever it is you're doing. And now we're saying, look, you're going to have to get better at interacting with business people and figuring out what they really need, and a little less of the technical stuff. How do you develop that? Well, there's practice, right? You need to But the other thing I often tell people is like read fiction, because
Okay.
it's about like people and how they relate to one another, and like the problems they have, and
Hmm.
like the psychology of that. I was actually an English major, uh,
Oh, interesting. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, English and theater. And then I couldn't make any money, and so I went to night school for IT and got and got into this field. Um, and so, and actually, those skills have been so unbelievably useful for me,
Hmm.
because my background in the arts has enabled me to like understand my stakeholders and the people I serve professionally better. And when people say, well, what books should I read? I
Yeah.
will say, like, the classics I recommend, this book by Ralph Kimball, and Information Dashboard Design by Stephen Few. And also, like, if you're up for it, read some Dostoevsky, because that will also help you understand the human condition, which is ultimately what we're all doing here, whether we're in data people or not.
Yeah. I agree. And I've read some Dostoevsky. It's kind of depressing stuff though.
It is, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's why I caveat, like, if you're up for it, right?
Yeah.
You can go lighter. You don't have to go that far. You could just read some something less challenging. But if you're up for it, I'm trying to read Crime and Punishment right now, like while my children are around. It's impossible.
Yeah, 'cause that's a punishment in itself,
It
trying to
is.
focus.
I know. And like the kids are watching Peppa Pig, and I'm sitting there like, I can't even get through a page. I give up.
How old are your kids?
So I have three. They're 7, 5, and 2.
Oh, good luck.
I
Okay, you
know.
might as well just join them on the Peppa Pig adventures
I
and be
know.
done with
I know. Well, that can also teach you a lot about how human beings relate, or pigs in this case. But
it. So watch more television, read more fiction is your
yeah,
advice.
yes, yeah. Read fiction. Yeah.
So there was a question here from Pankaj. So the job, I guess, of a business intelligence or data analyst is still there, but not in the same form. Is the main point you're making
I
here?
really think so, right? Like, it's not going to go away. I don't think.
Mhm.
I think it's, in the long term, who knows, right? But like I said, I'm not, but in the time frame that we all care about,
Yeah,
um,
which is the
it's
next 3 months.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, we're in technology, right? It's the next 3
yeah,
months.
things change
Um,
really
no,
fast.
it's
So
going to evolve, right? And so you should just be ready to evolve with it. It's interesting. I do think, like, there will be some degree of increased demand for technical skills.
mhm.
But it's going to be like, for a BI person, we exist in this weird nexus of technical skills and like business facing skills. And I think that there might be a little bit of bifurcation there, where like a certain slice, the system can write SQL, but someone needs to be able to tell if that SQL is any good, right?
Yes, and I think
S
that's the main role. We still need someone to do a pulse check, so we'll have
exactly.
titles like AI pulse checker, just like,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
"Are
I
you
think we
doing the right
will.
thing?" Um,
Yeah, we will. So I think BI systems are going to have increasingly, like, coding will be a more important part of them. But I
yeah,
think in a lot of ways it will be like directed by AI. And so, you'll still need technical skills, and I wouldn't say don't learn them.
right, right, right.
But I think the flip side of it is, like, you have to know as a business intelligence person, you have to understand, the 5 Ws of your data practice, like the
Five
who, what,
Ws. Okay, hold on.
the
Go
who,
ahead.
what, where, when, why.
What about the how?
That one too. Yeah, you need
Yeah,
the H.
you
There's
brought me
yeah,
back.
and like, yeah. So it's not going away. It's changing. It will
It's
it will
changing.
be increasingly changing, and I actually think it's exciting. I think a lot of people. I'll speak for myself. I don't want to speak for everybody else. I eventually got tired of getting asked over and over again, like, could this bar chart please be a line chart? Or like, the green is too green. Can you make it less green? And so having a computer do that for people so that I can focus on more important things, to me, is a relief.
I completely agree. The number of times I had to slightly tweak things or change the font type and style and make things consistent and move things slightly to the left because it wasn't right aligned.
Yeah.
I'm like, those are the things that took the longest as well.
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna miss that.
No.
So I wanted to take a minute and talk about your show, actually. So
Sure.
tell us more about your Super Data Brothers show.
Yeah. So the Super Data Brothers show, plug. We broadcast every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and it's kind of we do interviews like you do with people. We have who do we have coming up this week? I can't believe it'll come to me. But so we do a lot of interviews, and then we also will do we'll do opinion pieces on stuff. So, for example, every year when the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Business Intelligence comes out, we do an episode on that where we kind of
Oh, nice.
here's what changed and here's why and here's how to understand Gartner and what
Are you actually going to the Gartner event this year?
I'm going to the one in London. I will not be at the
Oh,
one in Orlando this year.
I'm
I was
going
at
to the one in
Orlando last
Orlando.
year. See, that's a bummer. I'll be going to a lot of stuff this year with good data, so hopefully we line up at some point.
Yeah, it would be good to meet in person one day.
Yeah, so the show, the Super Data Brothers show, I do with my brother, my real life brother Eric, and we're both business intelligence and analytics dudes, and so that's kind of what the show's about, is like what's going on in BI and analytics, and whatever the hot topics are, and interviews with very interesting people and that sort of thing.
So what did your family say when you're like, hey, we have a show together? How long have you been doing this?
Well, we started it in 2020, but it wasn't a show back then. It was just a YouTube channel, and we would do like tutorial videos, how to do this in Power BI, how to do this in Cognos, right? And then eventually, like, that was too much work, and so we, because like producing and editing the videos took a ton of time, and so eventually we were like, let's do a show instead. And so the show started a little over a year ago, and everybody thinks it's they think they're always very interested in it. My kids especially think it's hilarious that like they can pop open YouTube and see Dad and Uncle Eric like talking about weird stuff.
I know. I can absolutely relate, because my kids are 7 and 9, and one time I think I came across their like YouTube Shorts feed. They're like, "Whoa, you're on Shorts?" And they're like, I'm on TikTok too. Like,
yeah. No.
They also have no clue what I'm talking about. They copied me once, and one of my girls, she was standing in front of the mirror, and she's like, "Oh, I'm doing the data right now." I'm like, "What does that even mean, to do the data?" She's like, "Isn't that what you do? You do the data?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do the data. That's about it."
No, my daughter was just learning about in math. She's like learning about charts. They just introduced like, this bar is higher than this bar, and I was like, "Hey, here we go. This is what Dad does for a living."
Yes, I gave a little talk when my older one, when she was 3, we had career day, and at that time I was really knee deep in data visualization. So I had them create charts and graphs based on different color Skittles that they picked out. So they all picked one color, and then we counted them up. Very problematic. Skittles was melting. Half the class ate the Skittles, so we had to do new. And it was great, though. They understood the concept at age 3 of a bar chart really well, and they were able to, put it on the whiteboard.
So. Well, you put it. See, this is an important data communication lesson, right? You put it in the language they could understand.
Oh, yes.
Skittles, right? You need to know your audience, and well done.
Absolutely, you have to know your audience, and you try to relate to them as much as possible. And this is that human factor that's not going away, I think, for now. Again, I'll keep caveating the yet and for now. Let's see. We do have plenty of more comments and questions that are still coming in.
Sure.
And I do want to be respectful of time here. So I wanted to sort of wrap up and just ask you, where can people go? I know they still have questions for you, obviously, because they keep coming up. Where can they go to follow you, connect with you, learn more about good data and your podcast?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can always check me out there, and happy to connect. And then otherwise, there's the Super Data Brothers show every Thursday at 12. Lindsay Murphy is who we're having on.
There you go. I was going to Google that for you, man.
Just like Lindsay Murphy's going to be on this Thursday. Very excited to talk to her. She's awesome. So you can check out that, and then for good data, it's well, for the show. So we broadcast on LinkedIn and YouTube. So connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll get updates when we go live. And then follow us on YouTube, the Super Data Brothers. You can just Google Super Data Brothers YouTube and we come up. And then for Good Data, it's gooddata.com. And we're all over the place. I'll also be coming up at the Day-to-Day Texas conference in a couple weeks in Austin. I'm going to be at Data Council Austin this year, the Gartner Data and Analytics London conference, and probably a couple others. We're talking about, Big Data London, and who knows. There will be more. But if you want to meet in person, I'd love that too. So.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being on the DATAcated show. It was a pleasure to talk to you about business intelligence, AI, your kids, fiction books, Peppa the Pig, and all other topics.
Yeah, Kate, I'm a big fan, so this was a real thrill for me. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. All right, just wanted to let the audience know that we do have a website you can go to, datacated.com/show, where you can actually subscribe to our content. I'll put it up on the screen here for a couple of seconds. Make sure you subscribe so you get notified about all of our shows and just all the data and AI content that we'll have coming out this year.